Well, howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho here. Today I'm working on a 2006 Toyota 4Runner Sports Edition. It's got the V6 in it. And today I want to talk to you about transmission services, why we do them, why they are beneficial, what to look for, how to perform it, all that other good stuff. Now, before I started working for myself, I worked in shops for about 12 years. I had a good stretch actually working in a transmission shop. Now, some may call me a traitor in the industry and business, but here's the deal. I found out pretty quick while working in a transmission shop that things like transmission flushes, additives, stuff like that are really more of a gimmick, especially transmission flushes. They're just like oil changes. It's kind of a gimmick to kind of get you in the door, see what else they can upsell you on. Who knows? Maybe they'll end up doing a transmission flush, and when they're done, they come back to you and tell you, you know, your transmission doesn't have much life in it. Maybe we should sell you a new transmission. So that's really how transmission flushes work. Main reason why I don't believe in them is because this is what I found out about transmission flushes. When you have a transmission flush done, all it does is it uses pressure and it cleans out the system by sucking the fluid out one way and putting new fluid in, and it flushes it out, and it uses high pressure, and supposedly it cleans out all the valve body and all the parts and pieces in there, gets all the metal and all the junk out of there, and can make things run smoothly again. Here's the catch. If you don't perform the transmission flush to 100% perfection, if you don't absolutely get everything out of that transmission, the reality of it is what can end up happening is you can end up knocking something loose. Like, for example, let's say there's some metal in the transmission and it's really not hurting anything because it's caught up on something, it's clogged up, but it's not hurting anything. Perform a transmission flush, knock that loose, don't get it out of the system. That metal is now starting to run all through the system. 3 to 6 months later, 12 months later, you're back at the shop for a new transmission. So that's why I really don't believe in gimmicks like transmission flushes or anything like that. So what I've always done is perform a transmission service. And what does that consist of? That consists of dropping the transmission pan if it's serviceable, replacing the transmission gasket, and also completely replacing the internal filter. The internal transmission filter, so long as it's replaced, should have no problem filtering out all the crud in your transmission. So that's what we're doing to this 4Runner. Now, this 4Runner transmission has definitely seen better days, and so I'm going to start showing you some of that stuff right now. Okay, so you got to forgive my mad scientist mess. As you know, I've been extremely busy. But looking at everything we have here, okay, here's our transmission pan, here's our old filter, here's our new filter. Now, I will get more into what we're looking at. Yes, that is an extremely nasty filter, full of metal and all that other stuff, but I'll get more into that here in just a minute. Transmission filter kit, you can pick them up at your auto parts store. They come with the internal filter, and they come with a new gasket. Let's see if I can find my gasket here. So there you go, and that's pretty much about all you get with a transmission filter kit is the internal filter and the gasket. Now, just a little bit of information here. If you look on your transmission filter kit, it will tell you how many quarts you need or liters you need in order to service fill the transmission after you pull the pan. So let's go and take a look at what it looks like underneath the truck once you pull the pan. Alright, so this is going to be upside down. Maybe I should turn it around like so it won't record upside down. I think that might be better. Okay, so here we are. Now, this is the benefit of performing an actual service versus just a flush. And the benefit is the fact that once you have the transmission pan, you can go ahead and you can look inside of here and you can kind of just look at everything. So this right here, this is your valve body, okay? And your valve body, as you can see, will unbolt and come completely off. if you want to, you can go ahead and do that and clean your valve body, but you really need to make a real judgment call on that. It's a lot of extra work, and there's a lot of tiny pieces that can fall out. You just got to be careful with it. So on this transmission, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not worth pulling the valve body and cleaning it. This transmission is actually full of metal, and so the service is only going to remedy it. I don't think this transmission has very much life left in it. You can just see those drips. They're black like that because they have metal in them and all that other stuff. But while we're here, I'll show you some things. Like, you see this piston here, and then you've got a, there's a piston here. Where are we at? There's a piston right here. There's a piston here. Okay, there's a piston here, and you can kind of see in there that there's the piston right there. Alright, so these pistons open and close, and it acts just like a heart, basically. They open and close, push the fluid through there. That's how your gears work and all that other stuff, and all that other good stuff. So again, doing a transmission service is always better than a flush, because you can get in here and you can visually inspect everything. Alright, so let's go and look at what we found after we dropped the pan. Alright, one of the first things that I like doing when I do a transmission service for somebody is I like to take a sample of their old fluid. Now, I don't just drop the pan and then dip it in there. If it's got a drain pan, or a drain plug, which this one does, right there, as you can see, there's a drain plug. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll drop the drain plug, and I'll take my first sample right then and there before I allow any of it to go. And then I compare it to the new sample of fluid, and there you go. There's old fluid, there's new fluid. Major difference there. Now, the next thing I do is I compare filters. Old filter, new filter. All right, now this filter is just riddled with metal. Okay, that's all metal. That gray, that's all metal shavings right there. Let me get you a better focus. Come on, camera. There we go. So yeah, that's basically what that is there. Technically, that's microscopic metal particles, okay? But there is so much of it, you can see it. It looks like a paste. Alright, and then on top of that, there's metal all throughout this transmission. Let me find a light real quick. Alright, let's see if we can get in here. Okay, so that's all that's gonna do is, alright, there you go. You see, don't pay attention to the reflection of the light. You see those specks in there? That's metal. Those are little metal chunks. There's more metal. There's some more metal. And so all through here, there's just nothing but metal. And I mean, there's even metal chunks on the filter. You can, like, see? Right at the tip of my finger there. Just little metal chunks. All through there. You can even see them internally inside of the filter there. Yeah, you see that? See all those little metal chunks on there? So for this vehicle, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the vehicle has 170,000 miles on it. The transmission likes to hard shift, I noticed, between 30-40 miles per hour. And for the amount of metal that I found in here, that's a lot. As a matter of fact, you can really see it on the side of the pan here. You see all those metal chunks in there? So again, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the benefit of doing such a service like this is you can kind of gauge how bad your transmission is. I'm going to say this transmission is like maybe 50-60% operational, maybe even a little less. I mean, it's not slipping gears or acting up, but it does shift hard between 30-40 miles an hour. And I think at this point it doesn't matter whether you did a flush, whether you do multiple transmission services. I don't think there's any going back on this transmission. I think it's time to really consider replacing the transmission in the next, I'm going to say in the next, at 170,000 miles, I'm going to say in the next 20 to 30,000 miles, probably around 220,000 miles. If the transmission hasn't given out, then probably definitely want to look into replacing it. And you know, it's probably good that we did this service, because this Toyota has the typical timing chain or timing cover leak on it, and there's also some question as to whether it needs a rack and pinion, and both of those jobs are pretty heavy, labor intensive jobs. It's not necessarily cheap. You can see down here, it looks like the power steering pump is messy from leaking, but it's actually not. It's the timing cover that leaks right here. And so obviously that's basically a timing job. The rack and pinion, that's a pretty big heavy job to do. And so in all actuality, it might not be worth doing these jobs right off the bat. And the reason being is someone could spend a bunch of money fixing the timing cover and the rack and pinion on it, and then 6 months later the transmission go out, and now you just got to spend that much more money after you just spent a bunch of money on the engine to fix the transmission. So I don't know, I don't fully know what the customer's situation is, but it may be time to think about getting into a different vehicle or something like that. Now, I've had a couple snag ups on this job. It's going to take me about an extra day or so to fix some things. I'm pretty sure you can look at some of these bolts, man. They're extremely rusted. And look at the heads of all these bolts. Every single one of these bolt heads are rusted. I wonder if this vehicle has ever been near the ocean, or has been in an area where they use a lot of salt or anything like that, because underneath the vehicle is actually pretty wore out and rusted. And unfortunately, as a result, upon removing, I had one of these transmission bolts break, and I had two of them. They just rounded off on me because they're rusted. You can see that. You see they're rusted. You see how they round off, and there's really not much to grab there. So I ended up having to use a smaller size socket instead of a 10 millimeter. You can see the marks there where I kind of hammered a 9mm socket on there to get that out, and then this one just flat out broke. So what I'll have to do, let me see if I can go find that for you real quick. Alright, here we go. Let's get underneath the vehicle. Let's see if we can find, where did that one break at? Is it, I think it's right along here somewhere. Let me get in here. Where are you? Right there. Well, I hear a kiddo calling me. Just a second, kiddo, I'll be right there. So you see that one right there? So what I'm going to have to do is precision drill that out. And what I mean by precision drill is I'm going to get a left-handed drill bit, which is a drill bit that turns counterclockwise, try to grab that and pull that out of there. If I can't, then I'm going to precision drill it to the point to where I drill it out and I won't damage any of the threads. That takes a little bit of time, patience, and concentration to do. And then I'm probably going to have to go to Toyota and ask them if I can get a couple factory transmission bolts from them. I shouldn't have a hard time doing that. And the only reason why I want to go to the factory and get the bolts instead of just putting any old bolt back up in there is because these transmission bolts on this transmission pan have a washer pre-installed on them. And so that's what I'm going to have to do. So probably just going to take a little bit of extra time. No big deal though. That's why I like working for myself, out of my own garage, out of my own home, because as you just heard, I can stay home and watch over the kids and be the family man that I want to be. And I'm a little bit more flexible with things. So if I got to take an extra day or so to drill out a a bolt or to find more bolts, I don't necessarily have to charge for that time. So, alrighty, folks. Well, if you have any questions about transmission services, if you're trying to perform your own transmission service, get a hold of me. I really enjoy hearing from you guys and talking to you, helping you out, and all that other good stuff. Don't forget to check out GoFundMe.com and Patreon.com. I'm trying to set some things up so people in my community that can't necessarily afford auto repairs, like the elderly, the medically challenged, military families, people like that, maybe I can get some funds going, and if somebody comes in, like, have them fill out an application or something, I don't know, and then see if I can help them better afford some of their automotive repairs. But that's only for like the select person, the really truly deserving person that's coming through and really needs some help. And then on Patreon.com, I'm trying to build a community just like here on YouTube, but with both mechanics and people alike, where we can interact, share information, help each other out, share videos, and maybe help save you guys some money, show you how to do some of these projects yourself. So I'm getting all that organized, and I'll start putting links and videos again for you guys. I really appreciate you all coming out and watching my videos. Last but not least, this is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, signing off.